Hi friends and subscribers, and welcome, yes, to Starry's Pantry. I am in my pantry today, crouching again to bring you friends in because I really wanted to talk about something that is important when you are storing your food long term. Because I was in my pantry the other day and guess what I found? Yeah, I found, oh, look at that. This is a 40-year-old can of corn sitting on my shelf. Is it any good? Well, okay. It's really, I didn't find this on my shelf. You see, it's kind of make-believe. But in 1974, there was a study done by the National Processors Association on a 40-year can of corn. And guess what they found? Yeah, the corn wasn't stinky. It wasn't rotted. It wasn't bad. It actually was good. They opened it and they analyzed it and they found that the corn actually smelled like corn, tasted like corn, still had the color of corn, and the only thing that was compromised in that 40-year can of corn was the vitamin C. Isn't that amazing? So I'm sure many of you friends at home have the same questions. How long can I keep canned goods on my shelf in my pantry before they go bad? How long can I keep my home canned items on my shelf before they spoil? You know, these are really legitimate questions. So I thought I would do a video because I've been keeping food in my pantry for well, I don't want to date myself. Let's just say it's been a long time. In fact, I remember cleaning out my mother's pantry back in, I think, 2004. And we found, this is no lie, a can of, remember the Jolly Green Giant? Oh, he's so cute. Ho, 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 Green Giant. Yeah. That is really dating myself. But I did find a Jolly Green Giant can of asparagus. And back in 2004, 2005, I believe the date on that was like back in the 70s. Kind of the same thing with a can of corn that they analyzed. And I couldn't believe it. My mom, you know, was kind of one of those frugal ladies who just, she kept things forever, including the can of asparagus. We opened it up. There's nothing wrong with it. And even I was surprised because many years ago, I had a tendency to look at the expiration dates, like this one is. This is a pretty new can. Best Buy, September 2016. And oh, I'm going to grab another one. I had a tendency to, and look at this one. This is December 2011. So I would look at both of these cans and say, well, this one is good because, you know, 2018, 2016, okay, that's good. But I would look at this one, December 2011, and think, this goes in the trash. And I hate to admit it, but I was one of those people who I would have thrown it out. I would have looked at the expiration date and thought, oh, yeah, no, there it goes in the garbage. It goes in, that's really not my garbage, but that's what I would have done, and that's what I did. So I really want to discuss those expiration dates and how long canned goods last, because 20% of our food is wasted in this country by just throwing it away because of the expiration dates. It's pretty sad that we waste that much. So let's get talking about expiration dates and how long can you keep food in your pantry, canned goods, before they go bad, or do they go bad? Now, I don't really buy any more store-bought canned goods. It's been probably over 6-7 years since I bought bulk purchases of canned goods. I just do so much canning now on the homestead that there's just no need. But I know a lot of you friends at home are buying canned goods. They are cheap. You can buy them in bulk. I mean, it's great to stock up when there's a sale. And now you will know that those expiration dates really are just a suggestion, because if you look in my pantry, and a lot of these canned goods were bought actually probably over 10, maybe even 15 years ago. I'm not kidding, because I don't use the canned goods anymore. But I've got here December 2011. There's one here. I've got another one that is Best Buy December 2013. I've got another one here, Best Buy, September 2014. These canned goods are all outdated and should be thrown out, right? No. Remember, it is only a suggestion. And in fact, I think the people who make these canned goods, they put those dates on there so that you will throw it out. Yeah, I really do. And you'll just buy more. Don't do that anymore. So when you are buying your canned goods, just ignore the dates. And what you really want to do is pay attention to the can and the food that's in the can. That is going to be your number one way to tell if it's good or not. And in fact, the storing of your store-bought canned goods is going to be imperatively important. That is what's going to add to the longevity of your canned goods. Now, I will warn you, the quality of the food does go down after a year. That's with any canned goods. But I have opened canned corn, canned beans, canned whatever that have been over 5 years old, and I don't notice a difference. I really don't. I think a lot of the canned goods, they put so many preservatives in there anyway that it all kind of tastes the same. So. Number one, store your store-bought canned goods in a dry, cool location. Be smart about it. If you are storing them in a place where there's a lot of heat, there's a lot of temperature changes, you expose them to sunlight, this is going to obviously play havoc on your canned goods. The other thing is moisture. Even though they're in a can, these cans can become corrosive. And so you really don't want to store them where there's going to be a high moisture content, because these will start rusting. And that's not good either. So really pay attention to those things. And my other bit of advice is too, when you're stocking up your pantry and say there's a really good sale on okra, canned okra, I don't know if they can okra, but let's just use okra. If you don't eat okra, don't stock up on the canned goods. I always say in your pantry, it should be a working pantry, a usable pantry, which means you should be buying things for your pantry that you eat. Just because, they're selling, say, pumpkin, and you never really eat pumpkin, but, they're selling it for, 54 cents a can. Ooh, don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's just a waste. So that is the deal with the canned goods, okay? Home canned items. As you know, Starry loves to can all of her own food. I mean, from anywhere from, you can see I've got, this is just one wall. I've got anything from apricot preserves, I've got raspberries, I've got homemade applesauce, I've got, syrups, I've got a lot. But there are a couple different things that you have to remember about home canned goods. And number one, I just want to clarify any misconceptions. Home canned items are just as safe as the store-bought, okay? That's number one. Remember, the inside of our jars are sterile. It cannot host any bacteria if it is processed properly. Now, the great thing about home canned foods is you can tell if they're bad. There's just, it's very overt. There will be changes in the color of the product that you canned. You can also watch to see if the liquid in your home canned items are dropping. That's another indication that something is going on with your home canned items. The other thing is, the color and the clarity. Is it still clear? Is it looking cloudy? Something is going on if it's looking cloudy. And then obviously the very final, and you can do this with store-bought canned goods, you open them up and not only you see but you smell. You can tell a bad can of home canned food or even store-bought food with your nose. I mean, you can tell. Some of the times when you open up a lid of home canned items, you can flip the lid over and you'll see mold growing on it. Then you know that it's bad. I mean, it's going to stink anyway. I mean, come on, it's going to stink. These just don't lie. But for the most part, you just look at your jars, and your jars are going to tell the truth. This is my opinion. No matter what, home canning, I mean, everything's going to lose freshness, but home canned items are going to be so much more fresher, even after a year, than any store-bought canned foods, period. So if you don't have a canner yet, get a canner, because you will really be happy with the results. And how many years can home canned food sit on your shelves? probably as long as that 40-year-old can of corn. Yeah, remember, it's a sterile environment. As long as it is canned properly, it's just as good as the store. Right, wrapping it up. Store-bought, or I don't care if it's home canned, just make sure you store it properly in a cool, dry place. No temperature extremes. Use your nose, your eyes, your common sense when it comes to your canned food goods. But please don't throw it out because of the expiration date. And many awesome comments from my viewers, and there's some real experts out there, and we really take the advice to heart. One of the comments was that, Starry, aren't you afraid of earthquakes? And if there would be an earthquake, you would lose all your wonderful canned goods. They would just crash to the floor. And you know, we never thought about that. But we listened, and my husband, Mr. Hilder, if you see all these shelves now, look at that. He put strings up on all the shelves, so if we have a shaken and breaking type of earthquake, all my canned goods are going to be safe. So you might want to consider that if you live in an earthquake-prone area. The other thing is, I've had a lot of people point out, why do I keep the bands on the jars when the proper way to store them is without the bands? Well, I have been canning for over 20 years. Yeah, long time. Again, I'm dating myself. Ooh, Starry's old. She's older than she really looks. But I have not had any of my canned foods that I have processed ever fail because I left the bands on. Now, they do say that these bands, you know, they stay on during the canning process. They help keep those lids on, and then once you're done, you're supposed to take them off. Why? Because these bands have a tendency to rust. That's what they say. I've read that. And they also, if a jar would go bad, what happens is you would never know it. They say you would never know it. And then when you go to take the band off, it's bad. And, you know, okay, I'm going to know if this jar goes bad with or without the band on. I just am. That's just me. A bad can of beans will go bad with or without the lid. And if it's going to give off gases and explode, it's going to give off gases and explode. So I'd rather keep the band on. And the other thing, remember they say, oh, you can't store the bands on because they will rust, and then you can't get it off. Okay. Remember what I said about storing your canned goods properly. If they're stored properly, you should have no problems with the bands ever rusting. And, you know, the thing is, if you take these bands and you have to store them someplace, then you may risk these bands being rusted, because where are you going to store them? Because look at, I canned thousands of jars, over 20 years, thousands. And this is what you end up with. You end up with, look at that, too many boxes of bands. And you know what? On my homestead, I don't have room to store all of these bands. I just don't. So if you have room to store all your bands, you are a lucky person. But Starry doesn't. So I leave the bands on, and it really works for me. I've had no fail over 20 years. But again, the great thing about having our own pantries is you can do whatever you want, right? So you can do it the proper way and store it without the bands, or you can do it the Starry way. Whatever works. I don't care. Just do what you feel is proper for your pantry. But I did want to answer that question because a lot of people have pointed that out. Okay. All right. So, Jolly Green Giant says, ho, 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 Green Giant. I love you guys. You're very inspiring, and I feel so blessed when you keep coming back and watching the videos. I am going to have more tutorials on my pantry because I have lots of questions about long-term storage. What do I store? How do I store it? So I'm going to be in this pantry all winter. Yeah, it's going to be a long winter.